game, alt fact. And not only that, but in a video titled Lying Liars. The name of the video is just the same hollow bullshit that Tim panders everywhere. And Lady Ringcloud, again, thank you so goddamn much.
How many times does someone have to lie to you before you call them a liar? 1? 5? 20? It seems like many Americans are okay being lied to over and over and over again. Here's just one example. Michael Brown was a young black teenager, a gentle giant, who on August 9th, 2014, during a...
Oh my fucking god. Okay, yeah, I feel like, okay, alright. Where's he going with this? I think we know where he's going with this, Entrama. I hadn't watched this before. I went in blind. I was not expecting him to bring up a case from 9 years ago. 9 years ago, police murdered an unarmed black kid. Okay.
A routine police stop in Ferguson, Missouri, raised his hands and pleaded for his life as he looked down the barrel of racist white police officer Darren Wilson's gun. Brown famously held his hands up and yelled, "Don't shoot," before he turned and ran. Wilson shot him 6 times in the back, killing him dead. If you bought that, you bought a lie.
Well, but Tim, you're the person telling that lie in this video. Also, no one said that was what happened. Okay, you know what? Let's play this game, okay? Let's play this game. Let's see. Here's the Wikipedia page. Brown was... Okay. On August 9th, 2014, 18-year-old Michael Brown was shot and killed by police officer Darren Wilson in Ferguson, Missouri, suburb of St. Louis. Brown was accompanied by his 22-year-old male friend, Dorian Johnson, who later stated that Brown had robbed a convenience store before the shooting occurred. Wilson, a white male Ferguson police officer, said that an altercation ensued when Brown attacked him in his police vehicle for control of Wilson's service pistol. The struggle continued until the pistol fired. Johnson said that Wilson initiated a confrontation by grabbing Brown by the neck through Wilson's patrol car window, threatening him and then shooting at him. At this point, both Wilson and Johnson state that Brown and Johnson fled, with Wilson pursuing Brown shortly thereafter. Wilson stated that Brown stopped and charged him after a short pursuit. Johnson contradicted this account, stating that Brown turned around with his hands raised after Wilson shot at his back. According to Johnson, Wilson then shot Brown multiple times until Brown fell to the ground. In the entire altercation, Wilson fired a total of 12 bullets, including twice during the struggle in the car. Brown was struck 6 times, all in the front of his body. Do we have, let's see. Evidence, DNA, autopsy. Let's see, 3 autopsies were performed on Brown's body, with all 3 noting Brown had been shot at least 6 times, including twice in the head. He received no shots in his back. The county autopsy report described gunshot entry and exit wounds to Brown's right arm, coming from both the front and back. So, front and back. Which, I don't know, seems kind of consistent with hands up. But that's just me. Oh, here we go. Here's the independent autopsy. Okay. Okay, according to Baden's report, Brown was shot 6 times into his front. 4 of the bullets entered his right arm, 1 entered his right eye on a downward trajectory, and 1 entered the top of his skull. All of the rounds were fired from a distance of at least 1 foot. One of the shots shattered Brown's right eye, traveled through his face, then exited his jaw and re-entered his collarbone. Brown could have survived the first bullet wounds, but the bullet that entered the top of his head resulted in a fatal injury. Let's see. Basically, the first autopsy, cleaned a lot of the evidence off for subsequent autopsies. Some of the eyewitness reports said that Wilson had shot Brown in the back. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's see where you're going with this, Tim.
Here are the facts. Michael Brown was 6'4". He weighed 292 pounds, 80 pounds heavier than Officer Wilson.
Yep, and as we all know, big guys often stick their hands into police cars to try and steal police officers' guns. Yeah, God damn it. God damn it. This is already one of the stupidest things I've seen in a long time. Oh, god damn it. Yeah, as we all know, he was really tall and big, so that means, of course he reached into a police car to try and grab a cop's gun.
He was a giant, but there was nothing gentle about him. Brown and his friend had just robbed a convenience store. Wilson, in his police car, spotted...
By rob the convenience store, I'm almost positive. Here, you know what? Well, I'll even look this up, okay? Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. So, over the week, this is 2017, okay? Breaking down the Michael Brown video and what it reveals. Over the weekend, a documentary was shown at South by Southwest Film Festival that shows Michael Brown in the Ferguson convenience store police say he robbed 11 hours later. Documentary filmmaker Jason Pollock says the footage shows Brown leaving marijuana in what Pollock says was an exchange for cigarillos and 2 cold drinks. When Brown took cigarillos from the store later that day, Pollock argues, he was collecting the goods he had bartered for, not committing robbery. But the St. Louis County prosecutor and an attorney for the convenience store dispute Pollock's version of the events before Brown was shot and killed by police officer Darren Wilson. Because keep in mind, chat, this was before weed was legal, so the owners of the convenience store have every incentive not to come clean about weed being transactional. Oh, interesting. Ferguson police initially said Wilson had been responding to a call about the convenience store robbery. They'll later revise that, saying Wilson approached Brown because he was walking down the middle of the street, blocking traffic. You know, like people do, I guess. Yeah, it's so plausible. People carrying illegal drugs definitely usually just walk down the middle of the street in a way that is very easy for police to arrest. Sure, okay. CNN reviewed the video released by the convenience store's attorney. In it, Brown can be seen placing an item on the counter. A clerk picks it up, smells the item, and appears to place it back on the counter. Another clerk then picks it up and smells it, appears to put it back on the counter. It's unclear what happens to the item after that point. A third clerk then places Brown's store merchandise, what appears to be cigarillos and a soda, in a grocery bag on the counter. Brown picks up the bag, and as he walks away, there appears to be a discussion. Brown returns to the counter, hands back the grocery bag, and walks away. One camera angle from behind the counter appears to show a clerk taking the box of cigarillos out of a grocery bag and putting it back on the shelf. The clerk then appears to hand over other items in the bag to another clerk who walks off camera with them. The entire exchange lasts 1 minute and 55 seconds. It's unclear what item Brown placed on the counter and who possessed that item when he left the store. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah. That does not sound like a robbery. Just throwing that out there. That does not sound in any way like a robbery, but okay. Continue on, Tim Pool.
Spotted them walking in the middle of the street.
Because, by the way, the other like the actual events of the robbery are not like Michael Brown like pulled a gun. I'm pretty sure that he just like walked in and took stuff. Just real quick. Okay. Okay. Okay, yeah, no. This isn't a oh yeah, he was just in a convenience store like brandishing a weapon. No, he walked in and took a box of cigarillos. Okay? Cigarillos, however you pronounce that. Yeah, at worst that's like shoplifting, okay? So for shoplifting, they well, no, sorry. They used shoplifting as a pretext for murdering him. Because later on, police then revised it to say that actually them stopping him had nothing to do with the initial contact. So, completely irrelevant.
The two men matched the description of the thieves. Wilson drove up and told them to move to the sidewalk.
So, by the way, already we're like a minute in. Darren Wilson didn't stop them because they matched the description of thieves. He drove up allegedly because they were in the middle of the street, which sounds also like bullshit, but no way to really disprove that since there aren't any eyewitnesses, I suppose. So Tim Pool has already told a couple fibs here, which is interesting in a video titled Lying Liars.
Told them to move to the sidewalk. Brown refused, blocked Wilson from opening his car door, punched the officer through the open window, and reached for Wilson's gun.
You know, as you do, a cop tells you to get on the sidewalk. Instead, you run up to jam the door shut, punch a cop, and then try to steal their gun? I'm not an expert by any means, but I am just going to call bullshit on that in the sense that, like, people don't do that. The other account of the incident is that the police officer pulled up next to them, told them to get on the sidewalk, and then when he got lip, he grabbed Michael Brown by the neck and pulled him towards the car window, at which point Michael Brown tried to get free, which may have involved punching a police officer, but he did not begin that altercation.
Wilson fired in self-defense, striking Brown's hand. Brown ran. Wilson got out of the car and pursued him.
Because you know what? The number one crime in America is disrespecting a police officer. It's not on any law book, but that is the number one crime in America.
Brown then suddenly turned and charged Wilson.
You know, like people do. You know, after having suddenly been shot. You know, you run away for a little bit, then you do the 1-2 skidoo and you turn around and rush them. You know, as an unarmed person, you just rush an armed police officer who has already shot you. Uh-huh. Yep.
Wilson repeatedly told him to stop, but Brown kept coming.
Uh-huh.
Wilson shot Brown until Brown collapsed.
Uh-huh. Or you believe the other story, which is, as his friend put it, Brown got shot at, and then he turned around with his hands up and said, "Don't shoot," and then Darren Brown shot 6 more times. Well, the bullets weren't in the back; they were in the front. People on the scene described what they thought they saw, which was him getting shot in the back, but that is not what the autopsies revealed.
A local grand jury and federal investigators from the Obama Justice Department concluded that Officer Wilson was justified in his use of deadly force. There is no evidence that Brown ever held his hands up and yelled, "Don't shoot." The whole story was manufactured by the media.
Well, no. There is evidence that he did that, and it's eyewitness testimony. So, um... Let's see. Let's see. Well, what do we got here? Now, okay, this is the testimony from Dorian Johnson, Michael Brown's friend, who was present at the time. In his testimony in September to the grand jury, Johnson said he and Brown walked to a convenience store to buy cigarillos, but Brown instead reached over the counter and took them and shoved a clerk on his way out the door. Johnson testified that on their walk back home, Brown had the cigarillos in his hands in plain sight, and 2 Ferguson police cars passed them but did not stop. When when Officer Wilson encountered them, he told the two to get the fuck on the sidewalk, and Johnson told him they would be off the street shortly as they were close to their destination. Johnson testified Wilson was the aggressor from the beginning, and that for no apparent reason, he backed his vehicle up and tried to open his door, but Brown shut it, preventing him from getting out. Johnson said Wilson then reached out and grabbed Brown by the neck, and the two were engaged in a tug of war, and Wilson said, "I'll shoot." Johnson said he never saw Brown hit Wilson and did not think Brown grabbed for Wilson's gun, but that a shot was fired. At that point, Johnson said they both ran, and Wilson fired while Brown was running away. Brown turned around, and at that time, Big Mike's hands was up, but not so much in the air because he had been struck. Johnson told the jurors that Brown said, "I don't have a gun," was mad and tried to say again, "I don't have a gun." But before he can say the second sentence, or before he can even get it out, that's when the several more shots came. In his testimony, Johnson maintained Brown did not run at Wilson prior to the fatal shots. So, no, I'm sorry there. That just doesn't check out there. What we have is people who were there at the time. Also, people who corroborated Officer Wilson's testimony, by the way. Many of them were later contradicted, meaning that they lied. But anyway, whatever. Yeah, one witness took an account from a newspaper, and another witness was later discredited by investigators. Let's see. Yeah, no, a lot of this is contradictory, but there were also a lot of witnesses that testified to corroborate Wilson's testimony, which is that Brown was charging, but again, man, this is why we got body cameras, I guess.
It wasn't the first time. It wouldn't be the last, not by a long shot. The biggest whopper of them all was the Russia hoax, the entirely
Oh
made up
God.
story that Donald Trump, the candidate, and then Donald Trump, the President of the United States, was a Russian agent. This dark fantasy preoccupied the legacy media for 3 years. It involved dozens.
Tim, people literally went to jail for this. Tim, people literally went to jail for this. But also, that's not what the allegations were. People went to jail for lying in the course of protecting Donald Trump because Donald Trump tried to coerce. Jesus Christ. Do I have to go over all of this again? The Mueller report basically outlines that yes, it was happening, but it was beyond the purview of the investigation for them to conclude on crimes of that nature.
Of interlocking lies, almost all of which were planted by Trump's Democratic opponent. Given the sad state of our corporate media, it is perfectly fitting that the New York Times and the Washington Post won Pulitzer Prizes, the highest award in journalism, for dutifully reporting each lie as if it were the gospel truth. Then there was the Charlottesville lie, that the
Okay. Yeah, Hillary Clinton fabricated the Russia hoax. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, between 2013 and 2015, Trump stated, I do have a relationship with Putin. I met him once. And I spoke indirectly with President Putin, who could not have been nicer. And weirdly, when he announced that he was running for president, he's then said, I never met Putin. I don't know who Putin is. Never spoken to him. I have no relationship with him. In November of 2016, Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Rybakov told a news agency, obviously we know most of the people from his entourage. I cannot say that all of them, but quite a few of them have been staying in touch with Russian representatives. Oh, that's so crazy, Tim. That's so crazy. Remember when Michael Flynn and Paul Manafort went to prison, Tim, for lying to protect Trump about those allegations? That's crazy. Let's see. The New York Times wrote on May 24th, 2017, citing intelligence sources that Russian agents were overheard during the campaign, saying they could use Manafort and Flynn to influence Trump. Members of Trump's campaign, later his White House staff, particularly Flynn and Jared Kushner, were in contact with Russian government officials, both before and after the November election, including some contacts which they did not initially disclose. That's crazy. That's wild. The Wall Street Journal reported that U.S. intelligence agencies monitoring Russian espionage found Kremlin officials discussing Trump associates in the spring of 2015. At the time, U.S. intelligence analysts were reportedly confused, but not alarmed by these intercepted conversations. In 2017, the conversations were re-examined in light of a recently disclosed Trump Tower meeting involving Donald Trump Jr. and Russian lawyer Natalia Veselnitskaya. That's crazy. Who is a major Russian lawyer. Crazy. And then they had a bunch of meetings with Russian diplomat Sergei Kislyak. That's crazy. And Michael Flynn, weirdly enough, lied a number of times about meeting with Kislyak. That's crazy. While under oath, he lied. Let's see. Oh, in March of 2017, Trump's White House disclosed that Kushner, Kislyak, and Flynn had met at Trump Tower in December of 2016. At that meeting, the Washington Post reported that Kushner requested that a direct Russian encrypted communications channel be set up to allow secret communication with Russia and to circumvent safeguards in place by the U.S. Intelligence community. Some sources told the Post that the purpose of such a link would have been to allow Flynn to speak directly to Russian military officials about Syria and other issues, while others pointed out that there would be no reason for such discussions to be concealed from appropriate U.S. government officials. No such communications channel was eventually set up, according to sources. After the meeting, Kislyak sent a report of the meeting to the Kremlin using what he thought were secure channels, but the report was intercepted by American intelligence. Kislyak was reportedly taken aback by the request and expressed concern about the security implications at stake in having an American use secure communications between the Kremlin and diplomatic posts. Weird. Normal stuff, I guess. Yeah, nope, super normal. Hey, can we have a direct line to do crimes to the Kremlin? That's crazy. Anyway, yeah, nope. All of this fabricated, 100%. Now let's see the Charlottesville lie. I'm guessing I know where this one's going.
The president described neo-Nazis as very fine people at a...
He did. He quantifiably did.
Putting what you're calling the alt-left and white supremacists on the same moral plane.
I'm not putting anybody on a moral plane. What I'm saying is this. You had a group on one side and you had a group on the other, and they came at each other with clubs, and it was vicious, and it was horrible, and it was a horrible thing to watch. But there is another side. There was a group on this side, you can call them the left, or you've just called them the left, that came violently attacking the other group. So you can say what you want, but that's the way it is.
Very fine people on both sides. You know, the Unite the Right Charlottesville rally, you know. We get, you know, very, very fine people. Yeah. A lot of very fine people out there. A lot of very fine people out there, you know, just chanting, they will not replace us, you know, blood and soil, Jews will not replace us, you know, a lot of fine people saying those things. You know, this Unite the Right rally, which was predominantly known for being taken over by white supremacists and neo-Nazis. And also, I've looked at the footage, by the way, from the Unite the Right rally. I've looked at that footage. Every single element, every single instance of leftist fighting is not leftists just showing up to brawl. It's white supremacists throwing punches first. Like every single instance is like white supremacists and neo-Nazis trying to gang up and beat people with like poles and shit. But yeah, tell us more about the lie, Tim, the Charlottesville lie, where Donald Trump absolutely said neo-Nazis are very fine people.
At a press conference following a riot in Charlottesville, Virginia, in August of 2017. He never
Show the clip, Tim. Show the clip.
said any such thing. There's a transcript of the press conference to prove it. The real quote was, "I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists. They should be condemned totally."
Interesting ellipses there. Interesting ellipses there. Can we maybe let's just real quick.
You putting what you're calling the alt-left and white supremacists on the same moral plane.
I'm not putting anybody on a moral plane. What I'm saying is this. You had a group on one side and you had a group on the other, and they came at each other with clubs, and it was vicious, and it was horrible, and it was a horrible thing to watch. But there is another side. There was a group on this side, you can call them the left, or you've just called them the left, that came violently attacking the other group. So you can say what you want, but that's the way it is.
It's on both sides, sir. You said there was hatred, there was violence on both sides.
Well, I do think there's blame. Yes, I think there's blame on both sides. You look at both sides. I think there's blame on both sides, and I have no doubt about it, and you don't have any doubt about it either. And if you reported it accurately, you would say.
Neo-Nazis started this. They showed up in Charlottesville. They showed up in Charlottesville to protest.
Excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as you, and you had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group, excuse me,
Yeah, you just had some placid statue defenders, don't ask any questions about which statues they cared so much about that they were willing to ally themselves with neo-Nazis and white supremacists. They're just, really enthusiastic about statues.
saw the same pictures as you did. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down of, to them, a very, very important statue and the renaming of a park from Robert E. Lee to another name.
Robert E. Lee are not the same.
Well, no, George Washington was a slave owner. Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Are we going to take down, excuse me, are we going to take down?
Well, I think maybe there might be a difference between George Washington, one of the founders of the country, and Robert E. Lee, literally one of the highest-ranking generals of the rebellion against the United States. I think there might be a difference here.
Statues to George Washington. How about Thomas Jefferson? What do you think of Thomas Jefferson? You like him? Okay, good. Are we going to take down the statue? Because he was a major slave owner. Now we're going to take down his statue. So you know what? It's fine.
I forgot what a shit show this was.
You're changing history. You're changing culture. And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay?
Did we? Did we, though?
And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly. Now, in the other group also, you had some fine people, but you also had troublemakers, and you see them come with the black outfits and with the helmets and with the baseball bats. You had a lot of bad people in the other group too.
When presented with two sides, one side has neo-Nazis and white supremacists. The other side has people who fucking hate neo-Nazis and white supremacists. And he's like, well, that side that hates the white supremacists and the neo-Nazis, very unfine people.
Unfairly, sir, I'm sorry. I just didn't understand what you were saying. You were saying the press has treated white nationalists unfairly?
No.
I just didn't understand what you were saying.
No. There were people in that rally, and I looked the night before. If you look, there were people protesting very quietly the taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee. I'm sure in that group there were some bad ones. The following day, it looked like they had some rough, bad people, neo-Nazis, white nationalists, whatever you want to call them. But you had a lot of people in that group that were there to innocently protest and very legally protest because, you know, I don't know if you know, they had a permit. The other group didn't have a permit. So I only tell you this. There are two sides to a story. I thought what took place was a horrible moment for our country, a horrible moment. But there are two sides to the country. Does anybody have a final? Does anybody have? You have an infrastructure.
What makes you think you can get an infrastructure bill? You didn't get health care.
Okay. I think we got to the end of that. Anyway, I think we found that while he did not cut anything out in this quote with ellipses, I feel like the context of the conversation absolutely makes it clear that he was not condemning white supremacists or neo-Nazis, which again were predominantly the side that showed up at the Unite the Right rally. It was literally organized by white supremacists. Hey, the Anima Sean. Hope you're doing all right. Yeah, I didn't hear him say this, though, so maybe the clip was a little different. I heard, like, parts of that. I heard a part of that. Technically, the quote is legit. I would really like to see a transcript. Trump transcript. Very fine people. Okay. Okay. He literally wait. This literally in this quote. A reporter, the neo-Nazis started this thing. They showed up in Charlottesville. Trump, excuse me, they didn't put themselves down as neo-Nazis. What? Just Jesus. Okay. So this is the full quote. Are we going to take down his statue? You know what? It's fine. You're changing history, you're changing culture, and you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally, but you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? Okay. So, but again, the context of this quote, while this is technically accurate, is not even the full sentence. But even if you take it in context, it's very clear that he's trying to say, oh, well, you know, the fine people there were just statue lovers, you know, just some really concerned citizens about the statues in Charlottesville, which is absolutely not what the Unite the Right protest was about. Oh, God. It superficially appears as he later contradicts himself with the condemnation, except when Trump did say, oh, them? No, they're not Nazis. Yeah, exactly. They didn't put themselves down as neo-Nazis. They were just very, very concerned citizens of the Confederacy. you know, those Confederates. I tell you what, they're just good old fashioned country boys. Oh God. Okay, but yeah, okay, Tim.
No matter. The media had manufactured the story, and they were sticking to it. Additional common sense evidence.
Oh. Why are we doing this? Hello, chat? We're not dropping frames. It's the issue. Do I just have too many tabs open? That could be.
Evidence to the contrary, like the president has Jewish grandchildren, was simply ignored. Or how about the laptop from hell?
Wait, you think that Donald Trump cares that his grandchildren are Jewish? What? Also, Tim, you know that people with Jewish family can still be anti-Semites, right? You know that just because someone has sex, like a white guy has sex with a black girl, like they can still be racist. That man can still be racist. Goodness.
The computer that Hunter Biden left at a computer repair shop and never picked up. That story was broken by the New York Post in October 2020. In addition to files depicting Hunter's personal predilections, emails and text messages on the laptop suggested that his father, presidential candidate Joe Biden, was involved in corrupt business dealings with the Russians, the Ukrainians, and the Chinese.
Damn, that's crazy, because that is absolutely not true. Speaking of lying liars, Tim.
Twitter immediately banned the New York Post story from being shared on its platform.
Well, again, okay, that's true, but the reason the story was banned was not to protect Joe Biden. The reason it was banned was because even the people at the New York Post wouldn't put an author name on that story in the first place. And second of all, it was something that, if not true, that if the New York Post story hadn't been true, would have been something that would have easily been able to be sued for libel. Okay? So again, the reason they banned that story from being shared wasn't because Joe Biden was nefariously puppeteering Twitter.com. It was because Twitter didn't also want to be legally liable for that. Yeah, it was to protect their own bottom line.
Did the legacy media jump all over this egregious violation of the freedom of the press? No.
No, because they also didn't know if the story was true or not. you know, like that's part of the thing, right? Like the thing with people like Tim Pool is like, why didn't all these people immediately jump on this story? Oh, that's so convenient. It's like, well, because they have to do a thing called meet their own reporting standards, Tim. They have to actually, like, verify that a story is true.
He jumped all over the fiction that it was another Russian disinformation campaign. For the record, I don't care whether you think Trump is great or horrible. The issue is not Trump. The issue is truth. How do you determine who's telling it? One obvious way, as I've already suggested, is if someone or some news source lies over and over again, you may not want to trust them. Who told you that Supreme Court Justice...
Damn, it's real ironic that you're making this video on PragerU. It's real ironic that you're working with PragerU, my dude. I've watched so many of these videos.
Nominee Brett Kavanaugh was a sexual abuser and a gang rapist. Or that a Catholic high school...
Whoa. Brett Kavanaugh absolutely looked guilty as hell in that story. It's just that it's almost impossible to verify a sexual assault allegation from like 60 years ago. But there's also no reason and no benefit to someone bringing it forward right now. You think that the lady who brought this accusation against Brett Kavanaugh had anything to gain? You think her life is better now because of that? Absolutely not.
Kavanaugh was a sexual abuser and a gang rapist. Or that a Catholic high school kid cruelly mocked a Native American war veteran on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. Or that mounted border agents used...
Also, I still think he did. I watched that video. It still looked like he was a piece of shit.
...whips to control migrants at the Texas border. The legacy media, the corporate media, the establishment media, whatever you want to call them. They've lied to your face, and they'll keep lying. You can keep believing their lies, or you can show a little curiosity and take some responsibility. Read past the headlines. Consume information from across the political spectrum. Determine for yourself who deserves your trust and who doesn't. In the process, you'll be surprised how much you will learn. This is how you become an informed citizen. Now that's a novel idea.
Oh, the whips at the Texas border. You know that was all a lie. Except that a DHS report says some border patrol agents used unnecessary force on Haitians at Texas border, but didn't whip them. Okay, so they were abusing and beating migrants. They just weren't whipping them. Well, then that's clearly that's the story that, there were lies being told. Crazy. Hey, I am Sock. How you doing? Do 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 do. Ah! I accidentally pinned something. I didn't want to do that. Aye! Unpin. Nope. Unpin. There we go. Did it. Nailed it. So good at Twitch. Okay. Yeah. They merely used their horses' reins to strike repeatedly Haitian migrants. Don't be silly. They didn't have any actual whips. You need a real whip to whip somebody, not just a improvised whip. That would be silly. They were using reins. Oh, okay, wait. After interviews with agents and supervisors, as well as journalists who were present, the report concluded there was no evidence that the agents involved in this incident struck, intentionally or otherwise, any migrant with their reins. Members of the Horse Patrol Unit use split reins that can be swirled to direct their horses, which definitely sounds like something you could use to whip someone, but okay. The report did find, however, that agents used force or the threat of force to drive migrants back into the Rio Grande River, despite the fact that they were well within the territorial boundary of the United States. Border Patrol agents are supposed to arrest people who've crossed into the U.S. Between legal ports of entry, not push them back into the river or into Mexico. Yeah. Well, this all just sounds like a clusterfuck. Good night, Mithril Mist. God. Also, my dinner is almost here, chat. I think my order is here. Okay. What you got? I got a deep dish pizza because I haven't had pizza in a while and I wanted a deep dish pizza. All right, let's finish this.
Tim Pool, host of Timcast for Prager University.
Oh, well, okay.
Pool, host of Timcast for Prager University. Thank you for watching this video.
Oh god, he's even shilling for them. Honestly, it should also be illegal for them to call it Prager University. That just seems that seems fraudulent to me.
To keep PragerU videos free, please consider making a tax-deductible donation.
God. University isn't a protected group, though. It just seems like since a number of for-profit universities have gone down, it just seems like it'd be false advertising since it's not a real university. It's not accredited. I don't know. Whatever. I like how he's dressed like a young person, so he seems relatable to the people.